I want to do a podcast about films.
I'm not stopping you.
No, with you, you fool.
Oh, so you mean you want us to do a podcast about films?
Yes.
Well, why didn't you say that?
I did. I am.
Well, you can't say films. You need to say movies. It's a more broadly recognised term.
Yeah, don't worry about that now. Are you interested?
Well, we can't just talk about films we like. That would be boring.
Okay, then what about films we don't like?
That sounds even more boring.
Okay, how about this? Films we disagree on.
Ah, intriguing. So one of us likes it, the other one doesn't, and we discuss our opinions on the film?
I think you mean movie.
Yeah, don't worry about that now.
But yeah, that's the gist of it.
All right, I'm in.
Great.
Could still be boring, though.
You're boring.
I don't see how that's relevant.
Should we do one now? Hello and welcome to Movie the Needle, a podcast where two complete amateurs haphazardly dissect a film that one of us likes and one, well, not so much. My name's Simon and I'm joined by my good friend Carl, and we will be explaining our opposing viewpoints and seeing whether we can movie the needle for one another. This week we are discussing Christopher Nolan's 2020 science fiction action thriller, Tenet.
Hello, Simon.
Hello, Carl. Oh, mixing up. I like that.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Pod Cube.
I just thought I'd grab your needle whilst it was there.
Yeah, you know I like.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm ever closer, just out of reach.
Nothing's out of reach in this room, this cube.
Anyway, how the hell are you?
I am okay, thank you, mate. What about you?
Yeah, very good, very good. I'm, filled with the usual frustration. Yeah. Well, I've walked around the block, you see, and the problem with walking around the block is I come across the cafe on the corner. The cafe on the corner that has been in a state of getting ready to open for about the last 2.5 years.
Is this the old tannin place?
Yeah. The old, we'll call it Keds on the Torner, just so we're not getting in any trouble.
Yeah.
And yeah, you walk past it every single day. What I do, and there's like zero progress, or there's like sudden amount of progress, and then nothing. I'm just like, what? It must be a front for something. Like, how are you taking this long to open a cafe? You need a coffee machine and a till. I mean,
Yeah.
just crack on.
I mean, I always thought it was a weird location for a tannin place as well. So you talk about fronts for things.
Yeah,
Probably still the same owners.
that's true. I mean, the important thing they've got,
Or not.
they've got they've got some trendy light bulbs in, so that is the main thing. So as long as they get the light bulbs,
They left over from the...
yeah, really bright. But anyway, apart from that, it is somewhat becoming my nemesis, though.
right.
I know a building being a nemesis is a bit weird.
Yeah.
But it did get me thinking. I don't think I've ever had a nemesis before. It's not really a thing in real life, is it? But I don't know if you've maybe...
No, I don't think I've had a nemesis, no.
No. Because I had, like, my son did come home one day and say, like, I've got a nemesis. I'm just like, really? You're like 6. How have you got a nemesis? And how do you know the word nemesis? Like, haven't you taken you Taught and Tales yet?
This tallies with what he says to, obviously, my eldest.
Right.
When he tells her, when he and presumably his nemesis are battling for her affections.
No,
I think
different. No, different nemesis.
Well, he's got a lot going on because he's been known to say, right, the battle is on.
Which he's really not my son, because I'd just be like, fair play,
Really
go for it, it's fine.
Folk like, hi, Emma.
Oh, this is how he finds out.
Yeah.
He listens to this in 10 years' time. Oh, I'm not his son. Thank God. Why'd I have to put up with that dude? Anyway, what's new with you?
I've watched some films, and finally, after being on a bit of a bad run, I've watched a good film.
Excellent. Do you want to share?
Well, one you know about already because we've discussed it offline. Ice Cold and Alex, which was quite fun. Bit of a classic.
Yeah, a classic I'd literally never heard of, apparently.
Yeah, but you were an uncultured swine, so that's not surprising.
Sure. Okay. You said it again, an iconic scene that I should have seen, but again,
the iconic
not seen.
lager drinking scene. And then I watched Midnight in Paris.
Oh, you like Midnight in Paris?
Yeah, it was loads of fun. Loads of fun.
So just so I'm talking about the right film,
Owen Wilson.
Who's it? Yeah, okay.
Owen Wilson.
Okay. Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Fantastic.
Didn't strike me as a film that you would like. I think I
I've
did
not
like that.
logged it on Letterboxd yet. And in fact, I've got a couple of films I need to log on Letterboxd. I might even go as high as 4 stars.
Ooh, impressive indeed.
Yeah, it was good. Loads of fun. So that was good. Nice to break the run. And then, of course, I've watched Tenet. So that was great. But we'll come on to that.
Spoilers. Carl likes it.
Yeah. No. Besides films. Oh, so I tell you, I was thinking for this podcast. I don't think I've been grumpy enough on this podcast, right? So I could be going for like some sort of like deep thinking, because this is a chance for us to project like a persona out to the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think, this is my chance. I can be who I've always wanted to be. I could be like some deep thinker.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is I will inevitably tie myself in knots. With a series of contradictions and fallacies. And,
I think that's perfect.
yeah. So I was thinking, okay, well, not that direction. I could be like optimistic and jovial. That feels like it's going to be hard to keep up.
That'd be a stretch.
Yeah,
that'd be a stretch
it's
for
be
you.
Difficult, yeah. So I was thinking about just doubling down on the grumpiness, right? Which is easy to keep consistent.
Yeah.
I can sleep at night knowing that what people hear, I know I'm purposefully doing.
Okay.
Which will serve as a useful sort of deflection from it being, in fact, my actual character.
But what about the people that know you only from the podcast, then meet you in real life and they're like, he's not half as grumpy as he is on the podcast.
Yeah, only half.
Yeah, just half. Yeah, he's half as grumpy.
But that is really difficult to do this week because this week I have to pump up this film, and indeed I really like this film.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So that doesn't fit with the grumpiness. And also I'm going to naturally go towards the deep side of things, which includes the tying myself in knots and committing all sorts of logical fallacies. So not this week, but maybe next week. I think I might come double grumpy.
Excellent. Coming double grumpy. Love it. Okay, brilliant. Right. I think that's enough flim flam. Are you ready to talk Tenet and move my needle?
I'm not sure I'm going to do a good job, but we'll see.
Well, let's give it a go. Okay, so first off, a bit of a spoiler already. Carl's already kind of revealed where it falls on our 5-point scale, but as a reminder, it's a very simple one. You really dislike it, you dislike it. You're ambivalent, you like it, or you really like it. So, Carl, where does it fit on your scale then?
Yeah, I don't think we've officially put this in the database yet because you've been slacking. I think if you'd have asked me when we initially discussed this film, I would have said I like this. Ooh. But every time I watch it, I like it more. I think I'm going to have to say I really like it.
Oh, excellent. So we're going to have a 3-point differential here because this is I don't like this film. And this is going to be very, it's probably going to sound quite contradictory, right? The things I say, it won't really sound like I don't like this film at times. But
fine.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of it where you go like, Simon, you're meant to not like this film. Yeah. Stop talking about the good things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes. Which means there might be an opportunity to move the needle.
I think I'm confident I can move your needle today.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm excited about that.
Although I will say, and I explain my reticence at the end of the chit-chat flim-flam section, to say I'm ready to talk about this. When I made these notes, in my head they made sense.
Yeah.
And when I read them today, and I do think this is more a reflection of my garbling rather than the actual film, although we can discuss that, of course. But I'm going to make such a mess of this. But we'll see how we get on.
So a bit of a behind the curtain how this works. So I'm actually making like pencil on paper notes whilst rewatching the film. I don't know what you're doing, but just trying to figure out what the hell I've written down, and looking at that again is challenging enough. Couple that with what is not the most straightforward of films. I think it's fair to say it's going to be
depends.
Here we go. It was particularly a challenge. So anyway, Carl, let's start with why you like it. Give us the highlights, just the Just the main points to start us off for the people that turn off after 10 minutes of this podcast.
Right. I mean, can I just stop you there? If you think I'm going to be going for any sort of directness or succinct summation of things, you're asking the wrong person. I'm afraid I am going to have to meander a little bit. So what do I like? I think there is a bit of a misconception when it comes to Nolan movies in general, right? Which I think is particularly important for Tenet. I think his movies en masse kind of get labelled as like complicated, right? Now, and I know there's a section of the film enjoying people out there are going to go, you think Nolan brothers, Nolan movies are complicated? That's hilarious, right? I know that, but like in general, people tend to think of them like are these complicated pieces. I think actually the skill of Nolan as a filmmaker is giving you actually a very simple idea and story arc, but layering it. So it's not necessarily complicated, but there are just layers there that you can get deeper into if you want to do it. And I think what he's aiming for, first and foremost, is to immerse you in a story and for you to feel it, rather than sit there and be thinking about, well, what does this mean? And what does this mean? And how does that fit together? How does that fit together? Right. Which, and I've written this down in my notes just for you in cool sort of, not writing, but letters, vibes I've put, and I've spelled that VYBZ.
I did say, if you use that word, I will walk out. Now, Now it's a test of my
it's up to you. I'm going to keep talking for a couple of hours. Now, if you want to hang about for that, that's fine. Right?
I do hate that word, though.
No, so it's fair enough. But I think he's slightly misunderstood. He actually puts out in their first instance quite straightforward films that you're supposed to feel, and then there's more there if you want to get into it. Now, Tenet, at its most basic, I think, is his most balls out, straight down the line action flick, right? It's not the simplest one in terms of story arc. I think you'd look at Dunkirk for that. I think that's his most obvious. You're supposed to feel this rather than there's actually a lot going on, because there isn't a lot going on narratively in that. People will criticise it for that. Oh, it's boring. But again, you're sort of missing the point. I think you're supposed to feel it first. But Tenet has got this straight down the line, cool as fuck, I would say, action film arc about it. I think it's chock full of cool scenes and cool stunts and cool set pieces. And then it has that great layered thing as well, so that every time I watch it, there's just a bit more to get into and to appreciate and to dive into. So there you go. Nice succinct summation of why I like Tenet.
Yeah, thank you. We can really bullet point that in the notes in the summary. Right. I mean, I want to start off by saying that I don't think this is a bad film. That's not where I'm coming from.
And that's not what our scale means either, is it?
No, exactly.
We wouldn't know. We're idiots.
Yeah, precisely. And I really like Nolan. Like, I'm a big fan of his. I like a lot of his films a lot. There's a lot to like in this one, but and there's something you said here that if you want to, you can enjoy this on another level by going in and diving deeply. And I think my main problem with this film is I don't think you can enjoy this film without trying to at least understand it enough for it to put it all together, which is how this film left me feeling, which was throughout confused and like you're preparing for an exam you're going to fail. And you've got a very intelligent teacher talking at you, saying, "Come on, you can get this. Come on!" And you're just going, "I can't get this. It's just out of reach of me." And then at the end, how it left me feeling was therefore just unsatisfied, which is where
that's
Carl.
what she said.
I love how in last week's podcast, your main criticism of Superbad was essentially like all its humour relies on crassness and swearing. You're just like literally 90% of your humour, Carl. But anyway, but regardless,
I'd make a terrible film though. To be fair,
just called Carl.
Oh, it'd be awful.
Oh. But keep listening to the podcast; they're going to be great. But anyway,
no, we never claimed that.
I don't think. I'm getting back to my point. Right. So my point is that This is not a bad film, but it is just not what I'm after with a movie. And I think the feeling part of it, I agree with a lot of what you said there, that a lot of his films, you can do that. You can go in surface level and really enjoy them without going down deeper. But if you wanted to, you could. I just find that this one is that one step too far for me. And actually, it's beyond the point where I can just let it wash over me because there's too much which doesn't make sense. As you know, and I said before, generally I don't try and overthink films.
But yeah, here you are.
But this got me drawn in enough to try and fail.
So it's Nolan's fault.
It's Nolan's fault.
Yeah.
I'm stupid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's why I don't like this film.
Fair enough.
Okay, so you've heard why we don't like or do like this film in a very short, succinct summary. Now let's move on to specifically talking about the cast. Okay, so I would say that overall, actually, I've got very little issue with the cast, largely. I think throughout, it's strong. It's a Nolan cast. I don't think you get weak players in a Nolan cast generally that I can think of. Now, it's obviously led off by John David Washington, the protagonist. That's his name. That's how it's listed. He doesn't have a real name, apparently. He's just the protagonist. And part of it is what irritates me. It's not about him, but about the actor. And I didn't like him, but I don't know if it's him, the performance him, or him, the character him. And I'm still struggling to separate those two things at the minute. Was it his performance of the character I didn't like, or was it just he's playing the character and the character is a little bit too, I don't know, detached and unlikable for me?
Well, I think he is ever so slightly miscast for this. So he's just a bit like he's got two primary modes in this film, right? He's got where he's been determined and sort of intense. And that obviously plays really well for some of the brutal fight scenes and what have you. He's fantastic in those scenes, and there's some really great scenes in there. And then he's got this sort of, he wears this bewildered look a lot of the time, which again works quite well
I just thought it was a mirror.
Yeah, it works quite well for, he is been, obviously we're seeing everything from his point of view, but he's been slowly drip-fed this story. So that works quite well. My problem with him is his character's required to do some of the emotional thing with Kat, right?
Yeah.
And he just, neither of those two modes that he's engaging with this film quite work for me. And I haven't seen him in loads of stuff. So rather than just say, I think he's bad, I feel more comfortable saying I just think the casting probably just isn't quite there.
I think the only other thing I've seen him in is Black Klansman.
Yeah.
Didn't have a problem with him in that.
Yeah.
I don't recall him seeing him in anything else, but I might be wrong.
Yeah.
And I know this is about the cast, and not the character, but just the fact that he's called the protagonist irritates me. It's just like calling like the algorithm the MacGuffin, or like the woman in the white coat who does the explain, like Dr. Exposition or something like that.
Yeah.
It's annoying. But hey.
I think I can bring you round on some of these things.
Excellent.
And I had hoped to be able to go down the line of here's why you should be able to enjoy it as just a straight up spy thriller. But given what you've said so far, hopefully I can fill in some of the blanks for you and come back round.
You'd call it a spy thriller?
Well, so this is Christopher Nolan's James Bond film.
Yes, I read that. Thank God he's not actually made a James Bond film.
I disagree.
Which
brings me on to Robert Pattinson. And the first two words I've written down on my notes are James Bond.
Ooh.
Now, I think that arguably what Nolan has done with his James Bond film here is he split Bond into two.
Right.
And you've got that intense, capable, brutal side in John David. And then Robert Pattinson is just absolutely dripping charisma in this film. He is the suave James Bond
and a sexy name as well, character name, Neil. Yeah, I mean, he's like the hero in it for me. Like he is
James
the
Bond
more
in this
typical
film.
hero. Yeah, agreed. Yeah,
he's fantastic.
Which I didn't really think I'd ever say about Robert Pattinson. I'll be honest.
Me neither. I watched this for the first time. I texted a friend that said, "Whoa, Robert Pattinson's got some chops." He's really impressive in this. So yeah. What about Branagh?
Yeah. So the first thing I wrote down was like solid accent. Like yeah, solid. Like he is also menacing, which you would not really pick him as being a menacing kind of intimidating.
Well, he's usually like softly spoken or charismatic, and no, he's a bastard in this.
Yeah, proper menacing, surprisingly so. Solid accent. It was interesting the way they tried to reveal that character held him back a bit, didn't they? They held it back just a little bit. It's like, oh, you never guess who this is going to be.
I'm glad you said solid accent.
I thought so.
Put a pin in that.
Right.
Who else have you got on your list?
So we've obviously got Elizabeth Debicki.
Yeah.
As Kat. Fine. Like I didn't have an issue. I didn't think the character had a lot to do really. She played. I don't know.
She left me cold.
Yeah.
She left me cold. And she's got a bit to do on the emotional side of things. You know, she's the one that's a bit stuck in this distraught thing, and the son and all the rest of it. And she just annoyed me. She left me a bit cold, to be honest.
Interesting. She's 6'3".
She looks it.
Yeah,
looks tall.
And they were saying when I was reading up on this, like they tried to accentuate. That's the word. Her height as well, with like her wardrobe and everything like that.
Yeah,
I didn't really notice that she was towering over like John David Washington or any of the other characters she was with. Weirdly, you think like 6'3"?
I don't know if I really thought about them, but I definitely noticed that she was very tall. So I suppose it works in that.
But anyway,
anyone else?
For me, yeah, Aaron Taylor-Johnson as Ives. Cool as fuck. Wanted more of him.
Do you know what? It's funny. So I watched it. I quite like Aaron Taylor-Johnson.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh wow, I think he could have been really cool in that, but he seems to have just done an impression of the COD Modern Warfare guy as exactly that character. And that's what I wrote in my last Letterboxd review. I watched it this time around, and I just thought, cool as fuck. Oh, he was really good.
I could do a little spin-off film.
Yeah,
just with Ives.
Tenet 2, Ives.
Ives is a very Nolan character name as well.
Yeah,
because I was just like, Ives, wasn't that the name of the Tom Hardy character in thing? I was like, no, that was Eves.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, completely.
And they probably tried to get Tom Hardy for Ives. Went, okay, who looks nearly exactly like Tom Hardy?
I was generally like, I was almost surprised on rewatch. I was like, I thought this would be Tom Hardy.
Yeah,
like it was made for him, surely.
Is that role? No, it's slightly different around the eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked him too. What about Himesh Patel?
He was in it.
Yeah, I thought he was
small scene, but a couple of scenes, I suppose.
Yeah, again, I thought he was. The first time I thought he was a bit like, oh, well, this is a bit strange. This is not in his wheelhouse, but I quite liked him. This time around. Didn't
stand out. Didn't stand out for me.
You got anyone else?
No, that pretty much.
I've got one more for me. One more shout out. Martin Donovan as the mysterious agent.
Mysterious agent.
Yeah, you know the agent that
that introduced it.
Yeah, that briefs the protagonist on the boat.
Is he a Nolan regular?
No, not. I had a quick look at his filmography. I don't think.
I feel like he might have been in the Bond, not the Bonds, in the Batman's that he did, maybe as a minor character.
I don't know what it was about him. I just found him really compelling on screen for that scene that he was. And he's only in that one scene, but I thought it was great.
Yeah, he gave the gesture.
He did give the gesture.
Yeah. So what about recasting then? So we've already mentioned Tom Hardy. Surprised he wasn't Ives. Any of the other regulars, Nolan regulars? Cillian Murphy?
Tom Hardy, I didn't have down for who else could do a good job as Ives. I did not recast Ives.
Okay.
I had him for who else could do a good job as Neil.
Yeah, could see that. And how about anyone else? I didn't really have any ideas. As I said, that I thought the cast was pretty solid, so I didn't really have any thing that I was struggling with how would I recast the protagonist?
Yeah,
struggled.
I struggled with all of them, I'll be honest, right? Because, and I think this is to its credit, you've watched a film where I know we've just picked apart some of the sort of the nuance of their characters and the casting and whatever, but I think they just really nailed it. And they're also they're not unique characters, like you've seen characters like these in films before, but they're just very, very, they struck a tone, right? This movie strikes a tone, and they've got characters that slot in and do the jobs really well, and those actors have, by and large, just nailed it. So I struggled to recast all of them, to be honest with you. Tom Hardy, just because, Neil, because he does loads of stuff with Nolan. The protagonist, I went with Chris Evans.
Okay.
I was literally just thinking, who else has played that sort of spy thing, but perhaps has got a bit more range? Chris Evans. Sator, I don't think anyone is going to top what Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Maybe
that's a
kind of trying to top.
But
Mads Mikkelsen was the only other one I thought who could play a right bastard.
Yeah.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, he can be pretty intimidating.
And then Kat is the one I would actually only genuinely like to have seen recast because Debicki just didn't.
Bit Hathaway in there?
No. But I feel like I'm going to put this person in every single time.
Have you already recast her as
Emily Blunt?
All right. Just have Emily Blunt in everything.
Emily Blunt can do it. There's nothing Emily Blunt can't do.
That's true.
She could do anything. But I think she'd be great as that character. I think she'd nail the sort of the twisted strife that she's going through and that sort of thing, while still maintaining that, because she's got a bit of physicality in that role.
Yeah.
And I think Emily Blunt's capable of that as well. So, yeah. But I'm sort of with you. There wasn't as easy. Not loads of names sprung up when I was going through this one.
Yeah, because I was thinking, could we fit Christian Bale in here somewhere? Where could you put
Bale?
Where could you, it's like, I just don't.
No,
I don't really think he could fit in. No. And then I was like, Gordon Levitt. He's been in a couple of Nolans now. I was like, could Gordon Levitt be in?
Wouldn't work.
No, he's not really. He couldn't do the Neil.
No.
He couldn't really do the Ives. Definitely couldn't do the protagonist. He could do the Himish Patel role, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so maybe that's about it.
Yeah.
Right, well, so we basically both love the cast. Awesome. So, not quite what we're meant to be aiming for, but there we go. Okay, so moving on to the production. And again, for someone who doesn't like this film, it's a really well-made film generally, like the production. Like, Nolan knows what he's doing. Like, he's not exactly a mug.
Remember that sentence, and let's get the elephant in the room out of the way.
Okay.
The sound. Yes. The beef that I know you have with the production of this film.
Yeah. And the sound seemed less problematic on rewatch than initial watch. And
oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
It's happening.
No. But again, could have just been how I watched it. I don't know. Different. But anyway. Yeah. So there are a couple of moments where one, the score, I think, gets in the way, becomes too noticeable with the big no noises, which are very Nolan-ish, like that. They had it in other things. It's not Hans Zimmer this time. It's Ludwig Göransson.
Yeah, who does Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Hans Zimmer was off nailing Dune Part 1 like a boss, which I watched this weekend as well, Dune Part 1, just sidebar. Rewatched, should say. But yeah, there was a couple of moments where it was like, big noise, it just went a little bit too far for me. And then, there are parts, quite a few parts, where the dialogue is somewhat difficult to hear. And if that's done intentionally, it's annoying. If it's done unintentionally, if it's done unintentionally,
we got that, didn't we?
If it's done unintentionally, then would be surprising. Let's face it. For example, like there's one of the problems I have with this film is that there is a lack of levity generally in it. Right? It's pretty relentless, full on seriousness for a lot of the time. And there's one line where the protagonist says something, don't know what, and the character laughs afterwards. I'm like, no idea what he said. Could have been hilarious. Don't know, because it was just like, so that was that's the irritating part for me. Now,
Was it not enough for you to just know that he was trying to inject some levity at that point?
No,
you needed to know. Yeah, that's all really good, but fucking tell me what it was. I'll decide if it was funny.
Well, no, but otherwise I'd just watch a silent movie and just watch like things that come up.
People did watch silent movies.
Yeah, fucking only because they had to. No one chooses to watch silent movies. You watch silent movies.
No, I haven't watched a great deal of silent
movies. Watch a few Chaplin films. I'll tell you, like, the 4 Chaplin films you can watch. One of them you'll like. Well, one of them I liked. The others, oh my God, painful. Anyway.
Simon just dismissing an entire medium of interpretive dance as well there. Just swathes of the arts just ruled out as bullshit.
Big red cross for me, sorry. There is a dialogue. And, there's quite a few scenes where it's an issue. So the opening scene, which, very, very good opening. Loved the opening. Wearing masks was problematic. Which actually, to contrast that with June, part 1, which I watched this weekend, they are also wearing masks for quite a lot of it. But you know what they do? They make it so you can hear the fucking audio and the dialogue, so you know what the fuck's going on.
All right.
Anyway,
I'm gonna jump in now. So I obviously I knew that you have this beef with the film.
I've mentioned it once or twice.
We did speak in real life. I did a little Google because I know that Nolan has addressed this directly, because obviously it was a thing at the time when it came out. And it was interesting what I found. I couldn't find him addressing the Tenet sound, but I could find articles of him having to address the Interstellar sound, the Dunkirk sound, the Dark Knight Rises sound.
Interesting.
Right? So the same beef gets wheeled out at him time and time again. And it's interesting how it seems to be, it's stuck that Tenet was where he went experimental with the sound design and you can't hear the dialogue. And actually, when you go look back, people have been having this jibe at him for years. And seemingly it hasn't stuck with those films. Because you ask people about Interstellar or, Dark Knight Rises, it's fine, loved it. Well, I couldn't hear what they were fucking saying.
I think for the Dark Knight Rises, there was definitely that with
Bane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Bane.
So I found that kind of interesting. You've already hit on, sure it's intentional, and also I'm very interested to hear you say it wasn't as bad as you remembered it next time around, and I think that's got a lot to do. I'll come back to this layers thing. I think that you have to, the first time around, just let the film wash over you, right? You have to take it as what's on screen and what lands and what doesn't. I'm not gonna worry about that now. And I think if you do that, the actual dialogue is it is almost less important. Next time round, you watch it second time round, you can have a better idea of the narrative, what's going on. You might have even done yourself a little bit of reading, Google, you might have chatted to people about it, Next time round, you're going to get little bits that you missed, or you're going to sort of think, well, it doesn't matter that I didn't hear that bit because I get the gist. And I think the more you watch it, the less of an issue I think that becomes. I'm not going to pretend that the sound design isn't an issue in terms of understanding the dialogue. I just think that it's completely fair as an artistic device to go, actually, I'm going to deprioritize you understanding the dialogue because I'm going for a certain experience here. I'm going for a certain.
But why can you get that with the dialogue that you can hear?
Well, there is a technical reason for some of it. Is that when they're filming in IMAX.
The IMAX is really loud.
Cameras are really, really loud. So a lot of directors will get around that by doing ADR afterwards. Nolan hates doing ADR. He likes to.
You know what, Nolan? Sorry, but just do ADR.
But that's an artistic choice, right? So are you going to go? Well, we won't capture the words that were coming out of the actors' mouths and their expressive faces in that moment. Instead, we'll dub it over with something else. It's fine. It's a perfectly valid thing to go. Yeah, that's what we're going to do because I think hearing that every single word of dialogue is more important. Than actually maybe not capturing the earnestness of what was actually said at the time.
And I think that's what frustrated me though, is because
but it's a choice.
There's also a lot of the dialogue is kind of exposition, right? It's a lot of it is explaining kind of what's going on to one character or another, not in a really over obvious, blatant way, but there's a lot of walking, talking, and stuff like that, and this again comes back to like I was trying really hard the second time round to understand the film properly, because I just didn't at all the first time. And I definitely understood it more the second time.
Yeah.
And I guess that is one way to maximise your box office, isn't it? Just make a film that you can't watch once and enjoy. Like, no, I've got to go watch it 4 times. Oh, great.
Nobody said you couldn't enjoy it. That's all the work of one.
I'm saying I couldn't enjoy it. But yeah, so that's my main niggle problem with the film. One of the main.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't struggle with the dialogue in those exposition pieces. I think it's more when there is a set piece going on. There is one set piece that includes a bit of exposition, when they're going through the turnstiles with Sator and all the rest of it, which I can see where there'd be a problem with it. But again, and I think we'll hopefully we'll come to an understanding on the plot. I think there's a space where you can just go, it's just not that important. I don't need to understand every single little bit of this story, right? Because there is a point as well when you're dealing with the idea that he's introduced. If you do want to go into that layer, you are never going to bottom it out, because we literally don't understand the principles that he's invoking in this thing. And that is not a problem in films, right? We shouldn't be making it a problem in this film. Nobody cares that you can't bottom out time travel in other films. They just go, oh, well, that's fine, it's a sci-fi film.
But it feels like, and I come back to the feels like, right? Because that's how I mainly review films, on how they make me feel. But it felt like they were leading you to be able to understand it. They were giving you enough information. They were doing that. But it was just like, it was almost like it was 2 steps ahead, right? And you get that one step, and then they take another step forward. You're like, shit, I'm just not quite there. And because of the relentless pacing as well, it was like almost like none of those lulls in it to be able to actually go like, wait, hold on, right, okay, this is what's going on, and then you're on before, and you're like, shit, I'm not. My brain's not got up.
I think this is deliberate in 2 ways, right? And they're slightly contradictory. One is, it's there if you want to, you don't have to. The other bit is, I don't think you're supposed to be able to work it out as the movie's going on. I think you're just supposed to feel it as the movie's going on, and you
then research it afterwards on Reddit,
or you just have a chat about it, or you just sit down and think, I wonder what this is, or you catch it next time around. Remember those words. So I want to go back to the to round this out, this audio thing, and the very particular thing he's going for. Go back to the opening scene, right? I love the opening scene, so I'm going to start from the beginning, and I'm going to take it to post-title, and he's on the boat, right?
Right.
So I'm including this as the opening set piece. Absolutely stunning piece of cinema throughout. I loved it, and one of the reasons I loved it, Nolan's films are like the opposite of what I dislike in a thinking movie, right? Which is a really stupid way of putting that. That's a really great phrase. We can both agree, right? We had this chat, I think it was on the pod, with this chat about whodunit movies, right?
Yeah,
murder mystery movies. And the thing I really dislike in those is they're like seemingly leave you breadcrumbs to think for yourself, but then actually there's no way for you to actually solve it, right? Nolan's almost the opposite of that. He's like, I'll give you as much rope as you want, right? I'm not going to definitively tell you what the right answer is. There's going to be some things I'm going to leave deliberately ambiguous. I think some of those are because, we literally don't understand some of the principles. He could never give you the right answer for that. And some of that is because he wants to put you in a certain mood. And I think this whole opening scene is so surreal in its feel, right? And the sound design is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
And you've got the thing where you're not quite sure what's going on. You're not quite sure who's who. There's essentially 3 interested parties in that opera scene, and we don't really know who's who and who's working for who at that point. So you're all you've got this this discombobulation going on. Sound is a huge part of that. And then you come to the train yard scene, and we're still not sure who's working for who. Some great framing in that, by the way. I don't know if you know this.
I did.
The 2 trains going backwards, one going backwards, one going forwards, framing just about every shot. Then we move on to, the offshore wind farm, just itself, they're such awesome structures, are so huge. It is almost like an alien thing, And then you have this mysterious CIA agent go, well, what's going on here? He doesn't know anything. He's not telling us anything. And that whole segment, you've just got this feeling of like, I'm really not quite sure what's going on, but it's engrossing. And I think the sound design is such a huge part of that. A lot of the audio is actually played backwards as well. So the band's tuning up at the start, but they've flipped that around. So I think that'll be something they've actually recorded and flipped around. And then Göransson, I believe, in some of the score is either imitating backwards noises or they've actually flipped some of the stuff around as well. So yeah, I think the sound is such a part of that ambiguity which underpins the whole mood of this film and the way you're supposed to feel about it. But enough on sound, for fuck's sake.
Oh, for Christ's sake. That must be the most time we've ever spent on sound.
Yeah.
And probably ever.
Because usually we go, I don't know.
It sounds all right. Yeah.
I think it sounds good.
So it was nominated for 2 Oscars, one for visual effects, which I found odd.
Yeah, because he doesn't like practical effects.
He didn't use
effects.
Yeah, yes, definitely likes the practical effects.
Yeah, definitely fucking amateur.
So, which I say, I found odd. It's not an overly. I think there's something like 250 or something visual effects or something compared to a usual like 1,000 plus or something.
Yeah.
And it was also nominated for production design. Yeah, what the fuck's that?
No idea, mate.
No. Didn't win though. So whatever it is,
that's probably a load of nonsense then.
Yeah, like the bollocks. But yeah, I mean, we talk about the sort of the set pieces, and that's obviously a huge strength of this film. Like you've talked about the opening, obviously the plane crash.
Yeah.
Then the whole lock picking part of the, the almost heisty part of it.
Yeah.
Inverted scenes of the chasing, the fighting.
The choreography on those fight scenes.
I honestly don't even know how they do it.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the car chase. I mean, I usually find car chases really boring in films. But obviously, they're driving backwards in some of them.
Yeah. I was just
like, really? You like
I was like, how fast can you drive backwards? Like when filming it, I mean.
Yeah.
I was just like, how did they do this? But it would be quite an interesting one to watch the old making of. And then even like on the super fast yacht sailboat things that they were doing, like the racing things, which bloody hell, they look terrifying. Yeah. I don't want any part of that. Thank you very much.
Well, so this is why this is Nolan's Bond film, right? Because it is a very set piece driven film, which is. Again, I come back to the point. I think just take it as that and enjoy this. Just a spy thriller. Guy trying to end the world, and one man's got to save him. 2 men has got to save him. Loads of set piece strip. You take it as just that. It is fantastic as that. I will say I could have done without the sailing. That was the one set piece for me. I
thought it looked really cool.
It looked cool.
I mean, I think maybe he found like what's a really loud thing that will mask all of the dialogue again that I don't have to worry about the sound. I really like a really fast thing.
On that sort of thing.
Put them on with loads of waves crashing over with a crap microphone. Yeah. That was so great. I have no idea what you're saying.
Well, in a similar sort of vein, that was the only one where I thought, oh, he's done this just because he thinks it looks cool.
Yeah.
that was the only one where you could go, he's worked from that way rather than going, yes, this will serve, this will move things along.
Yeah, I suppose. We need to find a way for her to try and kill him.
Yeah. Well, I've always wanted to do these racing boats.
Yeah.
Right.
She could just throw a knife or shoot. Nah.
Yeah.
Racing boats.
Yeah. You mentioned Branagh's accent.
Yeah.
So some of that he recorded backwards.
I don't even understand how that happens. Like.
Yeah. So they all, I believe, had some backwards dialogue. I saw an interview with Patterson and
is that
John
why
David
I didn't
Washington.
understand any of it?
Maybe. And Patterson was saying how brilliant John David Washington was at speaking backwards. But obviously Branagh had the...
I do question, like, why? Why bother?
Well, because in the same way, the choreography with the fight.
Yeah.
So you could say, like a lesser film would have had this temporal pincer thing going, and they'd have kept them separate enough so that they could just film everything forward and reverse
it, yeah.
the inverse bits, right? He's not done that. He's gone, no, we're going to mesh them together, and we're going to really mesh them together. So when they fight, it's impossible. So you can't do it. You can't film them both forwards.
No.
So in the same way, in some of those sequences, there's dialogue as well. So again, a lesser film would go, well, we can't have dialogue there because crying out loud, how are we going to be able to do that? Well, he's just going, well, you'll just learn it backwards. And Branagh obviously got the challenge of then having to do that with a Russian accent as well. So
might be easier.
Maybe that's true. Yeah, that's all right. All sounds the same. All right, good. So yeah, it was just some real masterful stuff going on there. Absolutely loved it. Did you see in the Freeport the first time they went through Red and Blue Door?
No, I didn't notice that. Yeah. No, good though.
Yeah.
Nice little touch. What would you change?
Yes, I have got a change thing.
Yeah, go on.
It's Nolan's love of kooky retro gadgets. So the algorithm, gadgets? Why does it look so fucking odd? Look, this clunky like...
What is it?
What do you mean, what is it?
What is the algorithm?
We know what an algorithm is, don't
I know what an algorithm is. What is that thing which is...
So the physical object that they're chasing around in the film, it's literally just got the algorithm written on the bits.
What?
Because Nolan loves kooky retro gadgets, and he thought it'd be cool to have this in.
Stupid.
Yeah. I mean...
I thought it did something.
Again, at its basic level, it's just a MacGuffin, right? For them to chase through the film.
So the algorithm, it is just written on those pieces?
Yeah.
So you could have had, like, some bits of paper.
Yeah, it's Nolan being kooky.
So yeah, I thought it did something.
I have the same beef with his fucking robot in Interstellar.
I thought it contained...
Like, why does it look like that?
An algorithm that did something by...
No, there's no good reason for it. It's just, it's a MacGuffin at its basic level, and he's decided to make it very, very quirky and obtuse.
Well, that's annoyed me more.
Well, I've got it down as something I'd change, so we agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, and apart from that now, and obviously the sounds for some of the dialogue that we've talked about, just the pacing from it, just to give some level of let up in it.
It'd be interesting to see whether if you were to watch it another 2 or 3 times, if you still had the same beef with the sound. The pacing, I don't disagree on. I don't mind a long film if it's good.
Oh yeah, I didn't.
So if you're going to introduce another half an hour in that, would be a problem for me. I think a lot of people would struggle with that though, because they go, "Oh, it's now 3 hours long."
But I think you could, I don't know, still alter the pacing without making it significantly longer. Now I don't know how you do that, but it just feels like
you'd have to cut something.
Yeah, I guess.
I like the pacing because I'm taking it primarily as a cool action thriller, and I'm thinking about it afterwards. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of room to breathe.
Okay, we've spoken enough about the production. Let's get to the main part of this, which is the plot, which I think is a very big part of most movies, but particularly this one.
Or not.
For me, it is. I'm going to start with a question for you, Carl.
Mm-hmm.
Upon first watching,
did
you understand it?
Enough.
Second time round, did you understand it?
Enough. A bit more.
How many times have you watched it?
5 or 6.
5 or 6?
Yeah.
Wow. That must be up there with the number, like most film you've rewatched ever.
Yeah, I think so. So I watched it twice on a plane. First time I watched it was on a plane. So you think you had problems with the audio. And I still didn't mind.
Somewhat less of the set pieces as well. A little bit on a 7-inch screen.
I've watched it twice on a plane. I've watched it twice at home prior to this. So this rewatch was at least my 5th. There might even be a 6th in there somewhere. So I know what you're getting at. I did not understand it all the first time.
No.
I didn't feel that I need to. I still don't understand it all.
Okay.
And I don't think it's there to be understood fully.
How much reading have you done about it to try and understand it?
None until prepping for this podcast.
Okay.
And I wouldn't say I've necessarily filled in any blanks plot-wise, more just getting a bit of an inside track on things I just know nothing about. Like, what does the grandfather paradox mean? And why is this actually an example of the bootstrap paradox?
Really? Yeah, I mean, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what those things mean, but
No.
I'd have just said similar stuff in different words.
So there's one line in this film, right, which I think is quoted quite a lot, which is the
terrible line. Wish it wasn't there, but
don't try to understand it.
Yeah,
feel it.
Yeah.
Which now, do you think that was in there as a message to the audience, or do you think it's just something that people have latched onto?
Right. So I will say, I'm a Nolan fanboy. Let's not make any bones about it. I don't think he's particularly good at writing lines, and I think he often goes searching for these big lines. That being said, I think there are some great ones, which we'll get to when we do our last section. This isn't one of them, and I wish it wasn't there, but it is right. And I don't just think it's for the audience's benefit, although I wouldn't be surprised if you put it in there. I think it is for the protagonist's benefit.
Right. Because
it's not just... what's her name, the scientist that says it to him?
Dr. Exposition.
Yeah, Neil also says it to him later on as well. And then eventually it's Priya who goes, you have started thinking about the world differently, time differently now. You're sort of getting it. So I think it is a part of the plot, but yeah, it's not a great line. And if you take it as essentially meta exposition, it's pretty cringy. But I don't think it's wrong. I think that's right. I think that's a spirit in which you need to...
I think that is my biggest issue with the movie. That's if that is the
You've taken this really personally, by the way.
If that is the intention for the audience, then I'm not happy that you make a very complicated film, apparently, but then you just go, but don't worry about it. It's fine. Just go along with it. It's like, well, why make it so fucking complicated then? You've gone to a lot of effort to just for no reason.
I'd like to say, I think it's as much for the protagonist as it is for audiences. But I too could get annoyed about it in the way that you are.
Yeah.
I've just chosen not to. I've just chosen not to take it so personally.
Because the second time of watching, right, I was trying really hard, right? I was really concentrating. I had the ears tucked out of my hood so I could hear everything that was going on.
Why are you sat around in the hood indoors?
I've got no hair, Carl. It's very cold. Everywhere is cold.
Turn the heating on, you tight bastard.
I'm also live in the north, so I've got a northern wife. She doesn't like things to be warm. So yeah, I was really concentrating, and it just multiple times I'm just like, I'm just too dumb. I'm too far behind it. I can't catch up. And then they said this line like, "Ignorance is our ammunition."
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm fucking fully loaded then, mate. That's all I can say, because I am just fully loaded of ignorance. Thank you very much.
Right, take it back a bit. Dial it down first of all, because I said to you off air, as it were, this is a spy thriller, and you were like, "Is it?"
It is.
It is. It is. The plot is nothing complicated at all. I already mentioned it earlier. Evil man wants to destroy world
for some reason.
Protagonist has to save world. Right?
Somehow,
it's the script of every James Bond movie going. And nobody goes, "Oh my God, that's too complicated," or no one goes, "Oh my God, that's too stupid." You just go because you know what.
I think people do say sometimes it's too stupid.
No, right, okay, yeah, but you know what film you're going to watch.
Yes.
Yeah? If you don't like James Bond films, you don't like James Bond films. That's different, right?
Fact.
But nobody's going to a James Bond film and going, "He's trying to save the world." And he's like, "Margaret, have you heard this? He's trying to save the world," and he's like, "How daft is that?" Right, I didn't mind when Connery did it 6 times. And I'm glad they only give that Aussie fella one mind. They were pushing it to Pierce Brosnan, but they've got a black fella running around trying to save the world. Can you believe that? Ridiculous. Nobody says that. If you're going to watch a James Bond film, it's fine. You accept it. Let's take it a bit deeper. We're doing some time travel stuff, right? Which is going to introduce some paradoxes and some things that we can't explain, right? It's got a sci-fi element, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%.
Nobody thinks that's silly. Right, including the paradoxes and the things we can't explain. People are fine with not understanding it. Right, nobody watches Terminator and goes, "Well, if Skynet only exists because the Terminator went back in time, and then they got the technology." Nobody does that.
But I think with time travel, it's exactly that. When people do this, they go, "Yeah, but if that was and then they go cross-eyed, and then they go, "Oh, never mind."
Listen again. If sci-fi is not for you, fine, you're just not going to like it.
Yeah.
But like, it's part of the contract. If you're going to sit down and you're going to watch this film, or a film like this, you go, oh, we're doing this. Fine, that's obviously going to come with some stuff that I'm not going to understand, some stuff that not necessarily doesn't make sense, but creates some paradoxes that we can't explain. And you go, fine, I accept that, because that's my side of the bargain. And that's all that's happening here. And I think that's true whether you take it on the James Bond level, it's just a spy thriller, or it's true when you take it on the manipulation of time level. You're going to come to points where you just go, it's fine that I don't get it all. And what I like about this film is the more you rewatch, the more you go, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I get a little bit more now. I think it keeps giving in that sense.
So I would be tempted to rewatch through the lens of spy thriller. It didn't even occur to me it was a spy thriller. Like, didn't even occur because of the, as you said, like the sci-fi elements of it, and inherently with the sci-fi elements, but it's sciencey, more of the science fiction side of things.
Yeah, see, I say I don't like sci-fi films. What I mean is I don't like Star Wars. This is definitely science fiction.
Yeah. So a few questions on plot. Okay.
Let's try and help you out, Simon.
It's really straightforward. This isn't even related to being complicated. I just didn't understand it. I just want to go. So why did they remove his teeth on the train tracks?
I don't think they really bottomed that out. I think that's just to show that brutality of like, this is a real test. And
yeah, I mean, just a couple of teeth were probably all right, wouldn't it? I mean, seems a bit overkill. But
I don't know that they removed all of his teeth, did they?
Well, he did just say my teeth.
Yes. You wouldn't go, you removed
my tooth.
My 7 teeth. 7 fucking teeth. 2 would have done. No, hang on. 8. Fucking 8. Well, the 8th has just gone now.
I also want to take a quick detour to Dictionary Corner. As you know, we're a fan. Not so much to do with plot, but good a place as any. There's a line in here that says, is it bungee jumpable? Don't think bungee jumpable is a word. I was like, of course it's a fucking word. Jumpable? I mean, bungee jumpable is not a word because it's 2 words, but jumpable is definitely a word.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say bungee jump.
What would you say?
I don't know.
I thought it was totally.
You restructure the sentence, I guess. But I noticed that too, and I thought, well, is that deliberate that he's like being so quirky in his speech? Because he also says, Neil, when we're talking about the airport scene, don't be so dramatical.
He doesn't say dramatical, he says dramatic.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure.
Not so sure. I mean, this could just be an audio
issue. If he
issue.
says dramatical.
Yeah. Well, sorry, because I heard that. I was like, oh, is he just like, is there something going on here? Couldn't find anything on Google.
No, I think you just misheard that one.
Well, okay, yeah, it's possible.
And also just...
I suppose I'll get really upset about it, shall I?
And staying in Dictionary Corner just a second. They use assumption and deduction and presume, all in the space of a couple of minutes, Carl. Did they use them correctly?
They did, and I'll be calling that out in my best line section.
Interesting. Okay, good stuff. All right, the only other thing, and again, it's not exactly plot, but it stood out to me. You know the whole, like, exiting through a kitchen trope?
Yes.
Why is that a thing?
I don't know why that's a thing. Yeah.
What? Why? There's a door. Just walk through the door. Especially in like a private restaurant. In this case, like they're just walking through this kitchen. It's just like, yeah, you like own the place. Just walk out the front door.
Yeah, it's really strange. I don't know.
I mean, I know they needed to be in the kitchen so that he could show off his great fighting skills.
Oh, that looked like it hurt.
But yeah, hey ho. Right, plot.
Plot. Well, how would you want to do this, right?
I want you to explain it to me.
Yeah, but do you just want to ask some questions and we'll patch up some holes in your knowledge? Let's do it that way, because otherwise I'm going to talk for ages and go around in circles.
Okay, so what are they stopping? What are they preventing? What's the point?
All right. So we're going really big here.
Like what's the aim of the game?
Well, for who?
Yeah, exactly. For any of it. Let's start with the hero. Robert Pattinson's character. What are they?
Now let's start with the one that we can easily explain. Okay,
is that Satan?
No. So there's three. There's three. Oh,
good. I'm confused already with the explanation. That's good.
Okay, there's three parties. They would execute Satan's plan anyway because they have no alternative, right?
Okay.
So that is the general premise.
Cool. Well, I missed most of that. That's good. So when I thought I was actually getting to understand this film, turns out I missed out a load of it. Awesome.
I mean, the reversing the algorithm's general purpose is good. I got that.
Yeah, I got that bit.
And yeah, the. Did you hear that right? You want to feel stupid or more stupid? Because I made myself feel stupid with this. Did you even clock that Tenet was a palindrome?
Yes.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I'm like, of course it's a palindrome.
Okay, well, that's fine. Oh, I don't feel quite as dumb now.
There's like 4 or 5 watches in at this point, and I'm like, oh shit. Because I was reading about...
Were you looking at the post-up saying,
Now, the film is presented linearly from the protagonist's point of view, which, by the way, is why the protagonist is such a good name. I know it annoys you. Mm. But he essentially is the protagonist of his own timeline.
I should have just called him David and make it be like David Tennant.
Yeah, the film is presented.
Just ignoring everything I said.
Yes, I'm trying desperately to keep you on topic here.
Let me explain the plot more. I'm only an hour in. Keep going.
Yeah. So. Right, so if we were to watch this, if we were to watch this movie from Neil's point of view, you'd see Neil's linear timeline, and we'd see things in a completely different order.
Yeah.
But the point is, when you look back at the universe, you can't look at it linearly because it doesn't work. It's like I don't know how you'd even picture it. I mean, and that's the problem. Like we can't.
Catching Piss, also a good alternative name for this film.
I mean, you can think of it as piss if you want, right? So he's going to go at the toilet.
Yeah,
and he's going to go, well, a really weird thing just happened in there, right? I thought I needed to go. I must have already been, because it came back in.
Yeah,
it's like the cause comes before the effect, and she's going to go, that's just how you perceive it.
Yeah,
and then if you speak to Neil about that, he's going to go, what's happened. The point is, he'd already been for a piss even before he went for the piss.
Yeah,
he's just looking at it from a different direction.
We haven't got to the has my needle been moved, right? It had been moved before.
Yeah.
It's moved here, Anna.
Yeah.
I was going to say this was a rewatchable film. I can't be asked now.
Yeah. But although maybe it'll be like
Cool. Right. So I've got a headache. Let's move on to the final section.
What would you change about the plot, Simon?
I mean, honestly, I don't even know anymore.
I really expected better from you. I thought I was going to move you on this. I thought he's going to have some good observations, and I'm going to be able to explain them.
Right.
And my fault was twofold. Is there one that you would have some good explanation, good questions?
Continue to overestimate me.
And 2, that I would be able to explain anything.
Oh, you've definitely explained stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the final section. This is why you're wrong. All right, this is where we do our closing statement. So I'm going to go first, and I'll let you finish. Okay, so as we always do. I didn't really know what they were saying throughout lots of it. It's also been revealed I didn't know what they were saving, why they were saving it, how they were saving it, when they were saving it, which they were saving it, which doesn't make sense, but still makes sense because it doesn't make sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah, exactly. No, which it was saving it doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. So, I didn't like this film because I was trying to understand it. I didn't think it was possible to understand it, and I thought I was getting close, but I wasn't quite there. Plus, with the audio thing, it was intentionally complicated, too far ahead of the audience, certainly to get it sufficiently in a single viewing. I think that's just impossible. And yes, a movie that warrants multiple watches is no bad thing, but if you can't get the satisfaction and enjoyment from the initial viewing, I think that's where it fails, and that's why I didn't like it. I'm going to hand over to you, and then we're going to say about whether our needle has moved.
If your needle's queering. Well, I don't disagree with some of that. I just think it's missing the point. I don't understand everything in the film. I certainly didn't understand everything on first watch. I don't necessarily think that's true of every film anyway. I think the fact that this film teases that there is more to it is its own worst enemy in that regard, because you've then gone, well, God damn it, I want to understand all of that stuff you're teasing.
Yep.
When in fact, if you just chill out and go, I'm gonna watch what's on the screen and I'll think about it later, you'd have a lot better time with it.
I agree.
And you wouldn't have the frustrations of like, well, why can't I figure this out?
Yeah.
And I think if you can get into that mindset, multiple rewatches really pay off. Now, admittedly, I understand a little more than you did the first time around, which seems to have helped. And I certainly didn't need, well, what did we say? I might be up to 6. I'm definitely up to 5. I certainly didn't need that many. But I stand by that every single time I've watched this, it's given me something a little bit more.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of mileage into that. You just kind of just need to relax.
Carl says relax. So I've not moved your needle. This is clear.
Tough ask. I really like this film.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say you have moved my needle, right? In a different way to maybe I expected.
In a different way to I expected as well, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. So I don't think I can say I don't like this film anymore. I think I've moved to the middle section of where I just go, It's not ambivalent, it's just like,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah. So I am going to rewatch this film, and I'm either going to rewatch it through the lens of spy thriller, just sit back, enjoy the ride kind of thing, see where it goes from there, or armed with what can only be described as 3 hours of explanation from yourself in the plot section of this, really try and understand it and see if that helps as well. Because
nobody should listen to what I said to try and understand this film.
But it might help. At least I'll have the same understanding as you, even if it's not the correct understanding.
No, you won't.
So yeah, I'm going to say you have moved my needle on this one. I'm going to give you a win. Well done. Take the victory parade.
Well, I think that's it. 1-1.
1-1. Yep.
Yeah.
Score draw. We'll take it. Move on.
I tell you what would be quite interesting is if we watched it together.
Oh yes, we should watch a film together at some point in our lives.
This one might be quite a good candidate for that, though.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I didn't say that we should. Well, I did say that
you literally said we should.
No, I said it'd be interesting. I didn't say that I would. You can't make me.
Okay, let's wrap things up with the data section. So, first of all, some ratings, as we like to give in this. So, 7.3 on IMDb. One of Nolan's lowest, I think, rating from that side of things.
Bit
anyway,
of a box office flop as well.
And it was like COVID-y times as well.
That's true,
it was released, but so yeah, even managed a box office flop when having to watch it 8 times. 69 Metacritic, probably its lowest. Must be his lowest critically received film as well, and a 3.4 on Letterboxd. Now I scored it 2.5 out of 5, and that may have been a bit harsh in a way because there is a lot of the film I liked as described. I'm interested to see where that goes on rewatch. Now, I'm assuming this is going to be fairly high on the old 5 out of 5 scale for you.
Well, the first time I rated it on Letterboxd, I gave it 3.5, and
harsh.
I watched it again and logged it and moved it up to 4 out of 5, and punched the like button.
Oh yeah,
definitely moved it into my
collection,
which on Letterboxd I reserved for films that I really like.
Yeah,
if you were going to translate it to our scale. So yeah, I definitely moved it up. I don't know that I'd necessarily. Let's assume it keeps giving for me in the way that it has. I don't necessarily know that I'd move it beyond the 4.
5?
I don't think I'd necessarily move it up because I tried to be objective with that, which is a fruitless endeavour. Because how can you be? But I do really, really like this film. But it's not, it is just, even with the cool time concepts in it, it is still just it is his most set-piece driven film. It is just an action film. So I'm comfortable with 4 where it's sitting.
Fair enough. What about rewatchability?
Well, yeah, obviously.
High, obviously. You've watched it 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, and I will watch it again.
And so will I think. So actually, I've said this is a high rewatchability and there's many different reasons of this is why rewatchability I think is a good measure because it covers many different things, right?
Yeah.
It can be a film you really like, find funny, want to keep watching. It can be a film you want to keep watching to understand more and get deeper.
100%.
Versus a film that you really enjoyed first time. You never want to watch it again.
Well, so my favourite Nolan film, maybe second favourite, we can talk about that in a second, is Dunkirk. I'm not in a rush to watch that again at all. But this one, which I definitely don't like as much as Dunkirk and don't think is as good as Dunkirk, I'll definitely watch this again. Probably more than once.
What was your favourite scene?
Well, I have to call out 2 here. The opera house scene and the Freeport. They were great scenes. Yeah. I think objectively, I would say the opera house scene, the opening, was just absolutely fantastic. But subjectively, rather more subjectively, my favourite scene, and there's a theme emerging here, is the Bombay Yacht Club, where Neil meets the protagonist. Because there's just something really romantic about a bar in a far-flung corner of the world. And the Bombay Yacht Club, India, there's a particular mystique about it. And Neil's actually really dishevelled in that scene. We don't know at the time, but that is essentially the first time he is potentially even meeting the father figure that raised him. If you buy into the Max is Neil thing, but certainly the guy that recruited him to Tenet in the future, which they talk about at the end of the film. And this is a big deal for Neil. The protagonist doesn't know this, but Neil obviously knows all about the protagonist. But yeah, despite all of that, he's dripping in cool. Robert Pattinson in this thing, so he's there. Is it G&T he's on? G&T in the Bombay Yacht Club.
I think it's Vodka Tonic.
Was it Vodka Tonic? Yeah. Vodka Tonic, Bombay Yacht Club with his linen suit or whatever. It's a great scene. I love it. What about you?
Well, I couldn't decide between one of the big set pieces or a scene with impossible to follow unintelligible dialogue, but I decided to go for one of the big set pieces. So I think the whole plane crash at the Freeport, the heisty part of it. Cool. It's a hell of a scene. I mean, it's a big section of the film. I don't know if you can even call it just one scene, but
and they revisit it inverted, right?
Yeah, they do. But I mean, it's just the way some of it's been shot, and it's just undoubtedly impressive to watch. Yeah. So yeah, that would be what it was for me. Favorite quote, best quote for you?
And this is just my fanboy kicking in again. I've got to call out a few here before I settle on one.
Go for it.
I very nearly went with Neil when he's holding up the guardhouse. The protagonist is on the roof with Priya, actually, his husband, and then she's pressing the alarm.
Yeah,
and he's going, don't worry about it, there's no one coming to help you. And then we cut to Neil in the guardhouse. He's got the guards at gunpoint, and one of them's just in the corner with his food.
Don't let it go cold.
Yeah, and they'll just go, don't let it go cold. And I just thought, yeah, this is a proper James Bond quip, that. I love that. Honourable mention for correct use of the word, I presume you mean Sir Michael Crosby. To which our protagonist goes, presume away, quite correctly. It's like, well, of course you wouldn't be assuming that. I just said Michael Crosby. You've got more than enough information there to presume. You presume away. So I liked that.
Okay, good.
I also really liked We Live in a Twilight World and There's No Friends at Dusk. Mm-hmm. I immediately thought, oh, that sounds like it's from something. I don't think it is when I Googled it, but I like the way that he's not gone full cliched spy speak, like the Stalin flies west in the winter or whatever. Yeah, but but it sounds like it could be a bit more profound than that. And then you've also got the Twilight being between two states and all the rest of it, blah, 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 blah. There's, if you want to go into the deeper bit, as in keeping with the theme of how I think you can enjoy this film, it's that I really like that. I thought that sounded cool. I thought it fit in with the surreal nature of that whole opera scene. Mm-hmm. But the best line, I think, and I've actually have to paraphrase this a bit because it's an exchange of about 4 lines when they're talking about free will and fate and all the rest of it. And again, it's Neil. He says, call it what you want, but it's not an excuse to do nothing. Which I think is... I don't think Nolan is fantastic at lines in his films. But I think that whole concept is super interesting. They talk about... cause comes before effect. I'm not catching the bullet. It's coming to me. They make the point that it doesn't matter... nothing would have happened if your hand wasn't there. So, yeah, is that fatalistic? I don't know, but you're required to take an action to make that happen. And I think that really sums up that idea really, really neatly, that, like, call it what you want, but it's not an excuse to do nothing, especially when you set that against the backdrop of saving the world. Probably not against the backdrop of saving the world, but, yeah.
No, yeah.
So, yeah, that was my favourite one. Call it what you want. It's not an excuse to do nothing. What about yours?
It was when that character went...
Yeah,
it's probably really
good. Was he inverted or...
Oh, who knows?
Yeah, okay.
No, I like the Ives character where he just sits there and she goes, cowboy shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I liked it. I liked Ives. We haven't talked enough about Ives.
Ives was cool.
But he was cool.
Ives was cool.
See,
this bodes well on your rewatch if you think Ives is cool.
Yeah. No, I just get annoyed that he's not in it more. Favourite character? Mine's Ives. Yours?
Neil.
No, it's with Neil with it.
Yeah.
It's a close second, but I'm really just taking the trendy pick rather than the...
yeah, Neil is James Bond in this film. He's fucking cool.
Did you cry, Carl? Was it tearjerker?
Yep.
Did you?
Yep.
At what point?
At the end, when
they say goodbye.
The protagonist is saying goodbye to Neil, and Neil's
Did you cry the first time?
No.
Oh,
No. This was actually the first time.
The first time you watched it, sorry.
No, this is the first time that I've cried watching it.
So the 5th time was the first time?
Yeah. And obviously he's doing that thing about... for you it's just the beginning, or for me it's just the beginning, whatever, depending. Actually, there's
just the end.
There's another great... Yeah, that's right, they switch around the way they talk about it, don't they? In fact, there's another great line there when he's just like, I'll get him on the next pass. Because from our protagonist's point of view, Neil's already dead. But actually, if we were to watch it from, again, time's not linear, if we were to watch it from Neil's point of view, if we watch that film, he's going to say goodbye to him, and then he's going to go invert, revert, and then come pick the lock and get shot. So that's still to happen at that point. But yeah. But as we've established, that's beyond you. But we'll get there.
Hey, another 3 watches. I'll be crying like a baby. How about a jerker? Any gratuitous nudity in this? I didn't spot any myself on the first watch, second watch, 5th watch. Did any of you started seeing naked people around?
Good on you, Christo.
Yeah.
No gratuitous nudity.
Doesn't really have that in his film.
Oh, it's a bit in Oppenheimer, isn't there?
Oh, there is actually. That's a good point. That's actually Yeah, that is super gratuitous in Oppenheimer. We're never going to talk about Oppenheimer in detail on this, so we may as well cover it here.
Here's a bit. I mean, I could have done without it.
Had a classic watching it with my parents thing as well. It's always nice.
Yeah. Says he's trying to make the point that, like, what that side of him, basically, you know, is a really colourful character. He had that side of him, and
cool.
She was this really vibrant presence.
Could have done this with some more arty angles.
So this is what we always come back to, isn't it? It's like, yeah, no, cool. I'm sure that's the only way you could have conveyed that.
Yeah, you could have her straddling him, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say that Florence Pugh isn't half a fucking magnetic screen presence, and that's a hell of a way to make sure nobody ever forgets your scenes. But no, I agree. It's a bit gratuitous, isn't it?
But nothing in this.
Nothing in this.
No, nothing in this. All right, so bit of a left field choice with our top 3 for this week.
Well, let's do where it ranks in Nolan's filmography first.
We'll do that one
more
first.
On topic.
So, Nolan films. We are both, I think, both fans of Nolan. You've said you're a Nolan fanboy.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what your top ones would be and where this fits in. Then,
you have a guess?
It's going to be either Oppenheimer or Dunkirk, probably at the top for you.
They are my 1 and 2. Which order do you think?
Dunkirk 1.
No.
Oh, Oppenheimer's thinking.
I think I'd have to say it's just snuck out in front. Yeah.
Yep. And then does this fall not in the top 3? I would guess it's going to be
3 something else.
So 3 Dark Knight.
Nope.
Prestige.
Nope.
Inception.
Oh, no, you're just naming them all now.
Well, that's generally how guessing games work.
Batman Begins.
Batman Begins. Okay, right. Yeah. I put Batman Begins and Dark Knight together because I like them both for very different reasons.
I can tell you. Well, we'll talk about that when they crop up in my list. 4 and 5 are not either of the Batman films.
Prestige. Oh, I'm Inception. No, do you like Inception? I forget.
Inception's 4. Yeah.
Okay, you do like Inception.
5.
Prestige.
Sorry.
No,
sorry. Inception is 5.
Jesus Christ, I've lost complete track of where we are.
So you've got Oppenheimer 1, Dunkirk 2, Batman Begins 3.
Can you do this in a smashy and nicey voice?
No. Inception is 5, so number 4 you're missing.
Prestige.
No.
Memento.
Tenet.
Oh, so you've got Tenet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll run down mine and we'll do yours. So I've got Oppenheimer, Dunkirk, Batman Begins, Tenet, Inception, Interstellar, Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight, Prestige, and then the rest.
Well, you've done a lot more than I have. So at the top for me, I have got. I couldn't decide between which one I liked more for different reasons. I've gone for the Dark Knight. Dark Knight / Batman Begins.
Bottom of my 3 Batman films, Dark Knight.
Really? You prefer the Dark Knight Rises, Dark Knight? Intriguing.
Why do you prefer... Well, I know you've got them in equal footing, but what's so good about Batman Begins for you?
For me...
Because that's 3rd on my list overall.
Yeah, I do really love... I mean, I'm a bit of a sucker for the old origin-y story,
Me too.
to be honest.
That's why it's there. I love the origin stories, and that is a great one.
And even with Batman, which you've seen done and everything.
Well, it's a reboot, though, isn't it?
Yeah. I like all that. Yeah. So that's why I picked. And then the Dark Knight, the reason I like it for different reasons because it's a comic book movie that's not a comic book movie that is a dark crime thriller heat thing style,
Well, same reason I like all 3 of them, but I put Dark Knight Rises above Dark Knight because Dark Knight Rises is just a bit breezier. And it just does have just a touch more of that comic book quality about it. Bane's a bit of a more outlandish villain than menacing Joker and that sort of thing.
And then I've got Inception and then Oppenheimer, then Prestige, and that's as far as I went.
Yeah,
mainly because I haven't watched Memento since I was about 16. So
I forgot how much you criminally misunderstand Dunkirk as well. Yeah,
Dunkirk was fine. It's fine. It's good. It's a good watch. I'm not in a rush to watch it again, which is same as
well.
What you
No,
said,
I understand that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure you watched it twice or 3 times at the cinema. So
I only watched it once at the cinema.
Really?
Yeah. I've watched it once again since with a friend, but that's it. I bet you're one of these people who thought it was a war movie, weren't you?
Or they're being set in the war and all that.
Well, it's a survival film, but never mind, that's not for now.
Sure. Well, I know it's got Barry Keoghan or whatever his name is being an annoying part in the film, but hey-ho. But yeah, I mean, I guess that means I rate The Prestige a bit higher than you, Oppenheimer a bit lower than you, Inception a bit higher than you. You
still had Oppenheimer in your top.
Oh, top three.
Top three, though.
Yeah. I've only seen it twice,
so actually
might go up with more.
Well, you see, but because you've cheated, and actually your top three to top four.
Oh, fine.
Oppenheimer technically doesn't make your top three, does it?
True. Yeah.
Which means the only film we have in common in our top threes is Batman Begins.
Well, there we go. And then moving on to our slightly adjacent.
How uncultured we are.
So we usually do a top three something, whether it be genre or of a particular actor.
Genre was a shit show with this.
Well, it started with, should we do a genre? Yeah, great. What genre is it? Spy thriller. Is it? Oh. Time travel? Is it time travel, though? Oh, yeah, okay. So what we went for was, obviously, Denzel Washington films. So top three Denzel Washington films.
We have seen 3 John David Washington films between us.
Yes, we have. I've seen Black Klansman and this. You've seen...
This and Amsterdam.
Yeah. Which I've yet to see. Do you really want to see it with that? The cast that it's got looks cracking. So I will seek that out as soon as I can. But yeah, for me, top 3 Denzel films. So I'm a big fan of Philadelphia. I've got that number 1. Now, he's not the lead as part of that.
Never seen it.
You should watch it. It's very good. Best Denzel
Tom
film.
Hanks as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole AIDS thing.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
I like Tom Hanks as well.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And I've got American Gangster. And then I've got the Hurricane boxing biopic thing, which I've seen recently.
I've not seen that. I've seen American Gangster a long time ago, but not seen that one.
Yeah, what about you? Equalizer 1, 2 and 3?
Well, the Equalizer's on there at number 3.
Oh.
We have no overlap, by the way. So number 2 is Man on Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Creasy Bear. And then number 1 is Crimson Tide.
Oh, yes.
With Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Gene Hackman, by the way. Oh, what a force.
Wondered where you were going with that. Oh, Gene Hackman. Oh.
That'll if he wants. Yeah. He's looking a bit worse for wear these days.
Yeah. That's a challenging wank.
Oh, dear.
All right. Anything else you want to cover, Carl, on Tenet before we let the good people go?
Yeah, well, just on the free will and... no, I'm only joking.
Good Lord. You just had to go into a 30-minute thing.
I'm only kidding.
All right. Well, then, in that case, that is all we've got. So if we've moved the needle for you, or even if we didn't, please get in touch with us by email at hello@mtnpod.com. Our Twitter and the Instagram is mtnmoviepod. And you can also find our page on Facebook and TikTok at movie.the.needle. All these details can be found in the show description. So from me and Carl, it's goodbye.
Bye.
And I'm off to see if Don't Try to Understand It, Just Feel It works as chat-up line. Goodbye.